Hello, everyone. I'm T.R. Fuentes McKenzie, and you're listening to the Edible Origins Podcast, where we explore the roots of our local food system and celebrate the farmers, ranchers, chefs, and communities that nurture us. Today, I'm chatting with owner of Fruit of the Coop, Stephanie Peterson. Thank you for taking the time to chat with us. Can you tell the community a little bit about yourself?
Sure. My name is Stephanie Peterson, and I am the owner of Fruit of the Coop. We are a 7-acre farm here between East Sioux Falls and Brandon. And we started out as a chicken farm raising laying hens for eggs for restaurants. We still are doing that, but we've expanded to agritourism. We have farm stay Airbnbs on the property, hip camp, and an outdoor event space.
Well, it sounds like a lot going on.
Yeah.
So we always start the podcast with the same question for every guest, which is, what is your food origin story? What are your first memories of food growing up?
That's a good one. So I grew up in South Dakota, in Lemon, South Dakota, which is up on the North Dakota border, and a small town of about 2,000 people. And we lived in town, but I had grandparents on both sides of my family on the outskirts of town on huge cattle ranches. So basically my memories as a child are growing up on their cattle ranches, you know, just basically exploring thousands of acres without anyone to watch over you. And, you know, having all of my relatives around me, getting together for huge family meals. I have fond memories of my grandfather coming in at around 10 a.m. every day for his morning coffee and pastries that my grandmother had made. There's always some good like fried bread or, you know, a piece of pie with coffee. And then always had that 1 o'clock huge dinner. We called it dinner, right? Our middle of the day meal where everybody came in from doing the work out on the farm. And, you know, the spread was huge, right? Like it was always, you know, buttermilk fried chicken, mashed potatoes and gravy, you know, corn. There wasn't a lot of vegetables. There wasn't a lot of like greens. I feel like growing up, the downside is iceberg lettuce and corn were considered our vegetables, right, as children here. But I just remember my grandmother and my great-grandmother always in the kitchen, always cooking something delicious. The oven was always going. It was always hot in there. You know, homemade pies with homemade crust. Yeah, just lots of good, happy memories of large gatherings around the table.
So I know that at one point in your life you were in Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
Can you tell us the story of how you ended up back here in South Dakota?
Sure, yeah. So I graduated from high school here in South Dakota and then went to Augustana University here in Sioux Falls. And I got a government and international affairs degree and promptly after graduating began working for Senator Daschle, the senator from South Dakota here in Sioux Falls for about maybe half a year. And then Bill Clinton got elected as president, and I basically rode his coattails and moved out to Washington, D.C. As a young 22-year-old, worked on Capitol Hill for Tom Daschle for 10 years, and then ended up spending 10 more years in D.C. raising a family, raising kids. Homeschooled my kids out there. Just got to a point where it was so the rat race, you know, the rat race in D.C. got a little much for us. So we decided that we were going to pick up and move back home to South Dakota. You know, I hadn't been here for 22 years, so it was quite a transition. And, you know, but we were able to get this small farm. I had always wanted to get back into some level of farming and raising animals in some capacity. So yeah, came back here and just started Fruit of the Coop at that point. Slammed my kids into public school. I was done homeschooling and, you know, got involved in the local food community, became active with Dakota Rural Action, serving on their board. I served on a couple national boards for sustainable agriculture organizations and basically spent, I would say, 40% of my time raising chickens and selling eggs to restaurants, and then 60% of my time doing advocacy work for local food.
So speaking of the advocacy work that you do, can you tell the community why that's so important in terms of local food movement and and getting people to support local.
Yeah, so it's especially important here in South Dakota because we are behind the times when it comes to local food systems, right? There's a lot of other states that have grown their local food systems so much more than we have. Lots of other states have more state government support for their food systems. We don't really have that here. There's a lot of reasons why, and maybe we won't get into all of those, but a lot of our population in South Dakota doesn't understand the importance of supporting local producers, right? And so there's so much education that needs to be done, and that's what podcasts like this are for, right? Is to let people know the reasons that we need to have a local food system. I think it was very evident when the pandemic hit that we lost control of a lot of our food and farming systems, especially in the commercial agriculture industry. If we all recall, there was empty shelves and it was hard to know where your food was actually coming from. But the local food systems and the local producers here, they were able to stay resilient and stay producing food, and you could still get your food locally during those crises. So local food systems are super resilient. Super important to support them because they will always be there for you when there is a crisis. And then, we could go into like the environmental impact of commercial agriculture versus small and mid-scale agriculture, and there's a huge difference there as well. So if we want to protect our planet, it's also important to support local food systems. And then there's, the nutrient density of the food and how good it is for you as a human to eat it. And I don't think people really understand that eating a chicken from Costco versus eating a chicken raised out on pasture in a pasture-based system by Jamie Boley of Mayborn Acres here in Parker, South Dakota, right? That food is more nutrient dense. He's raising it on soil that is healthy. So you're getting a healthier product for the environment and for your body as well. So lots of reasons. And then we could get into the economy, right? Like supporting how much local producers and supporting local food supports our local economy. So it's lots of reasons to say yes.
Yeah, I mean, as a chef, I can attest to the fact that producers like you make my job easier when you're giving, showing up at the back door with super yummy and nutritionally dense food.
Yeah.
It makes my job much easier to put great food out in front of a guest.
Right.
You said something about the local food movement lacking here in South Dakota. Can you kind of go over those couple things that you were thinking about there?
So we have really rarely had support, I'd say in the past 15 years, maybe even longer, from the state, from our Department of Agriculture. They put most of their eggs into one basket, and that is supporting and growing large-scale commercial agriculture. They have incentives in place for large companies to come in and put in hog barns, confined animal feeding operations, which are called CAFOs. So our state really we basically want that in our economy. We invite those folks in to grow food that is not good for us or the environment. And we also encourage, monocropping and growing soybeans and corn and not diversifying and not growing anything else but those items. And then we encourage more yield and more production, which isn't really what we need either. And growing fence row to fence row. We don't like having buffer strips in between. We like to just produce as much as possible, and with that comes more herbicides, more pesticide use. Yeah, it's just really interesting to me that they don't see the value in supporting local food systems.
So the folks that don't see the value, what case would you make to them? Maybe somebody that's on the different side of the political aisle than you. What case would you make to them?
I think the most important thing to try to make them understand is to get them out in the field and, so to speak, and meeting the local farmers, right? Taking tours of these local producers that live around here and are working their butts off. Let them see firsthand the impact that those producers have on the economy and the environment. tag along with us when we're delivering our products to the restaurants. Meet the end users, right? Meet the chefs. See how important it is for you all to get good quality, good taste, good nutritional aspects of the food. I think the only way they're gonna I feel like we have a history here in South Dakota in a culture maybe of not understanding something or what something is like until we've actually seen it. Like we've seen it happen, right? It's hard for us. We like to do things the way we've always done it. And that's not always a good way to move ahead and to grow and learn more and become more resilient. So I think showing them what we're doing, showing them the difference we're making is really the way to turn them.
Well, let's move into that then. So showing them, what does it look like to be a small producer producing eggs for restaurants? Maybe explain to the community some of the stuff they might not know about chickens or might not know about producing eggs.
So I think the biggest thing is that it's seasonal, that all farming is seasonal, all raising of livestock is seasonal. And because of the way commercial agriculture is set up and because of confined animal feeding operations, you can have anything you want any time of the year, right? You put those laying hens with 2 million laying hens in a big factory, and they're in a cage, and the light is controlled and the environment is controlled. They're going to lay an egg every day, round the clock, regardless of the weather outside, regardless of how much sunshine they're getting. So that's not good for the animal. It's not good for you. And so when you're doing something naturally, my chickens are all pasture raised. They are free ranging out, all day. They're laying according to the seasons. So when winter comes around, I have a big decrease in my supply, right? It makes it hard to run the business with that, and that's why I think I have a lot of side jobs and a lot of side gigs to support myself. But it's also educating the customer who's eating at your restaurants and educating the chefs, the new chefs that you're working with, that they can't always get the eggs they want, every week. They're so used to ordering off the truck and just getting whatever they want whenever they want it. But we should be eating seasonally. Life is cyclical, right? And we should be following that. It's better for lots of reasons. So it is challenging for sure to do it this way. But I really am passionate about it, and I believe the importance of it. So I, the first thing I do when I start working with a new restaurant is explain this, right? I want you to understand, if you're going to go into business with me, that this is a cyclical thing. We are going to have a little bit of a roller coaster ride, but you're going to have to alter your menu a little here and there, But I think that's important.
How do we pitch that to the regular person who's like, I want my eggs right now?
Yeah, that's a good question.
And I have to have eggs, on my menu,
Yeah.
Year round. As a chef who's bought eggs from you before, it's not necessarily frustrating. It's more of just having to adapt.
Yes.
To what we're doing and asking a different farmer, do you have eggs? And if not, ultimately, yes, we'll have to buy off the truck for now because I think the local food movement just needs time to grow.
Yeah, it definitely does need time to grow, and it is important to work with folks who understand that. When I call you and say I don't have eggs this week, to have you understand that I really appreciate that, right? When I'm working with someone, I just think I'm not sure what the answer is to convince people, right? I mean, the world is diverse, nature is diverse, humans are diverse. Animals are diverse. Everything we put in our body is diverse. Why can't we embrace that more and celebrate that, right? Even in the food we eat. I mean, when I package my eggs, I intentionally include varying sizes and varying eggshell colors, right? When you open a carton of my eggs, it's not going to be all white identical eggs, right? Or even all brown identical eggs. And I do that intentionally because I have a variety of breeds, which variety and diversity is healthier. It's healthier for us, the planet, and for the animals. And I think it's important to just keep role modeling that to people, right? And so when they do open a carton of eggs, they see this diversity right there in front of them. And it might open their eyes a little and make them realize that's the world we live in, and we should be embracing that.
Yeah, so you mentioned earlier about side jobs. So I want to move into a topic that we haven't talked about before on this podcast, but which is agritourism. So can you just explain to the community what agritourism is and then what you're doing with that?
So agritourism is basically providing an opportunity for folks to get out and experience agriculture in some capacity, right? It can mean all kinds of different things. Here at Fruit of the Coop, we've expanded greatly into agritourism. We found, I love being out here. I love being on the farm. I love being with the animals. And I love showing that to other people, right? Letting them experience that as well. Experience what that slowdown feels like, what that feels like to follow a season, to follow an animal's path through its life. So we've opened up an Airbnb here on the farm. We have a couple options for that. We have a private Airbnb that sleeps 5, that's quite large. We also have a smaller Airbnb that sleeps 2, that is basically a section of our home. We also have a glamping bus that sleeps 2, that folks can come out and really kind of do a camping situation, but be in a really comfortable converted tiny home on wheels. So we have that option. We also do Hip Camp, which is basically an Airbnb set up for tent campers. So folks can come here, set up their tent, and stay on the farm in a camping sort of environment, in a field. We have an outhouse, we have an outdoor sink. And then we have moved into events as well. Launched an event business here this summer that is primarily, at this point, outdoor events, kind of smaller events, not anything huge. So looking forward to some flower workshops. We have, a breakfast and balloons event with a hot air balloon company coming up. Doing a number of dinners with yours truly here, with T.R. Looking forward to other farm-to-table style events as well in the future. So,
What, if there's a message that you might have for the community on you wanting to encourage them to support local, what avenues does the community have? Where can they get your eggs, and then also how can they get in touch with you?
Yep, there's actually a lot of opportunities for folks to get local products. I have a website, fruitofthecoop.com. Folks can go there, order my eggs. I also teach backyard chicken keeping classes, so they can learn how to raise their own hens in their own backyard and basically create that grassroots resiliency for themselves. I sell feed for those chickens as well. They can get links to book my Airbnb spaces. There's also lots of other organizations that offer resources for local food purchasing. I would encourage people to check out Dakota Rural Action, which is dakotarural.org. They have a local foods directory that is searchable on their website by product and region of the state. So basically, if you want to purchase pasture-raised pork, you can plug that into the database, and you're in southeast South Dakota, you can enter your region, and you can find farmers who sell direct to consumer. You can call up your local farmer and order a quarter of a hog or a half a hog directly from the farmer. It's pretty simple, actually, when you get down to it. Then you can also shop in a lot of retail locations for local products. Pomegranate Market, who's opening a second location downtown this summer. The Sioux Falls Food Co-op has a lot of local produce and products from folks. So it's not that hard to do, actually, if you know where to go.
Stephanie, one last question, which is there anything else, any other message you'd like to give to the community?
I would just tell people to get out of their homes, get out to some local farms, get to the farmers market, start meeting your local producers, and there's a lot of us out here right around Sioux Falls, and we would love to give you a farm tour and shake your hand and sell you what we produce.
Well, thank you so much for meeting with us.
Thank
and
you.
We appreciate you listening to the Edible Origins podcast. Stay connected with us and join the conversation on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Share your thoughts, ask questions, and be part of our growing community. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss what's coming. Until next time.